Welcome everyone. I'm Vandana Teji and I have with me today Mr. Nitin Srivastava. Welcome Nitin.
Hi, Vandana. Good morning.
Good morning Nitin. Nitin has 2 decades of experience in financial services and healthcare industry. He holds degrees in business management from prestigious institutes like XLRI and INSEAD. He started his corporate journey in the field of HR and has gone ahead to manage P&L roles. After a successful journey with large corporates like JP Morgan and United Health Group, Nitin started his entrepreneurial journey in the year 2018. He is the co-founder of Leben Care Technologies, an AI healthcare startup, and Truecover, a digital platform for insurance companies. So, welcome Nitin to our interview series where we will be connecting people from different walks of life and understand more about their journey, what works for them and what doesn't. So,
Great. It's
Nitin,
great to be here, Vandana, and thank you for that introduction.
it's a pleasure to see you, Nitin, after so many years. I think almost 1.5 years back we met.
Right.
And so, my first question for you is tell us a little about your journey.
Well, so I've been fortunate to work with some really great organizations. My career started with GE, and then I went on to work with Infosys for some time. And in both these organizations, I had the opportunity to work in the HR function. That's really where my career's foundation was laid. And because these organizations are known for their people practices, I think I got an exposure to what truly world-class HR practices are all about. After that, I spent nearly a decade really in United, a fabulous organization again. I got an opportunity to move from HR into a business role. The organization trusted me, and for that, I will always be grateful. And within United Health Group, I got an opportunity really to work and manage a P&L for the first time. Again, it was an opportunity that came my way. Some senior leaders trusted me, and I thought it would be exciting, and that's really what got me going there. And after spending nearly 10 years being in business roles, I decided that I want to do something on my own. So, well, the next phase started a couple of years ago, and it's been a ride. It's been one hell of a ride.
Indeed, indeed. So, Nitin, this movement from HR to business, you must be few of those rare, I would say, people in HR who have actually gone ahead and been able to even got the opportunity as well as you have actually gone ahead and taken that journey. So, tell us about your learnings and challenges that side.
Well, first of all, the movement is not that big a deal. Okay, I think opportunities come. It's just about sometimes getting out of the comfort zone, and well, it came my way, and I said, let's give it a try. The challenges primarily is to let go of a lot of notions that you carry in your head, right? And particularly when we are in HR and maybe early stages of HR career. I wouldn't say at a later stage, but I think at a later stage, the leaders nowadays are more business leaders. But very
Correct.
early stages, you're more process driven, you're more compliance driven, and oftentimes that creates a sense of wanting to hold a certain set of practices very tightly. But when you're trying to run a business, it's all about managing dynamics, and that's been the biggest learning, that when you actually start managing people and start dealing with people on a first hand basis, you start to understand really what people management is all about. And we always used to joke about it that when you are in HR, it's almost like doing a little bit of backseat driving, that you can sit at a distance and tell managers that this is how you should handle people and this is what you should be doing about managing your teams, etc. But when you start managing teams yourselves, it starts to hit you why the job of a manager is a little more complex than what you would otherwise imagine. That's one. The second bit is that a lot of things, a lot of assumptions we tend to make. Being in any function, I don't think it's unique to HR alone. I think if you're in finance, you make assumptions. If you're in technology, you tend to make assumptions about business. But when you start running a business by yourself, and that whole experience of going in front of a customer, taking their requirement, understanding the pressure of what a customer wants, and in what situations you can say no, what situations you just have to say yes even though everybody else doesn't like it, and so on. I think that is where the learning process really becomes really exponential, because you have never dealt with that. Nobody has ever dealt with that when you are in an inward facing role. When you get out in the market, I think it changes your uh, views about what a business manager's role is all about. I think in HR also we deal with managers as customers, but we always know that the implications of saying no are still internal to a company. But when you are going to take a decision which is going to hit the P&L, it's going to hit the bottom line or the revenue, it becomes that much more serious, if I may, for lack of a better word, because it's going to impact a lot many more people. If the company doesn't make revenue, it affects almost everybody in the company. So I think that onus on a business leader is a very, very different experience to have. And that's been my biggest learning.
Wow. Wow. That's, I think, is amazing. And I think one of the biggest learning for all HR leaders, wherein probably there is a role which has already been carved out and is known as an HR business partnering role. However, living that role is more important than actually going ahead and driving from a distance. And thank you, Nitin, for bringing that important point. So, Nitin, as you correctly stated, being in the shoes does matter. We all tend to draw assumptions, and there is nothing wrong about it, because that's the way the world works, and that's the
Right,
way you
right.
have learned all about it. And but then now, because you have been into corporate as well as now you're an entrepreneur, and so tell us this about this entrepreneur journey that you have had last 2 years, how it has been.
Uh, okay. Uh, it's very difficult to describe in words. I mean, I can give you a bunch of cliched terms, but I think that would be unfair to the journey itself. I believe each entrepreneur has their own unique journey. Mine is my own and unique in every possible way that I can think about, or at least I would like to think about it that way. It's been full of ups and downs. It's been very, very patience testing, right? When you go in thinking that you're gonna just punch your way through and you're gonna just make a dent and get things done, and then it starts to humble you down, because you start realizing that a lot of things that you were thinking from a distance about entrepreneurship are not really true. Unfortunately or fortunately, we all get attracted by the big stories of success. We don't end up getting into what really goes behind it, and there is so much more that's gone behind it, right? So I think my biggest takeaway from the last 2.5 3 years is that it's only just started. And I believe that even after 5 to 7 years, I would still be saying the same thing, that it's only just started, because it's a new day, it's a new challenge each day. The number one realization that's hit me after these two startup journeys is get your team right. It is the number one priority that every entrepreneur should focus on. Get your team right and make sure that everybody's motives are aligned, right? And sometimes sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Everybody is bound to make mistakes, but if you can get it right, you are on the right track right from the beginning. It will solve way more problems than you can imagine. The next bit of it that I would say is that as an entrepreneur, you got to carefully evaluate whether your idea is really a business idea. Sometimes we love the idea so much that we get obsessed with it, that we have to make it into a business idea, but
True,
sometimes it's not
true.
a business idea. You've got to have that clarity that somebody is going to be willing to put their money on it and say we want to pay for a service or a product. And I think those are my two biggest right now, the two big learnings that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. This is it in the last 3 years. And it may sound like 2.5 3 years and that's all you've learned. I will say these are huge learnings.
And there's one important question that I want to ask, because,
Sure.
Nitin, I had the, I would say, opportunity, and I have been fortunate to work with you on projects, and I really feel lucky. And I know that while you are a hard taskmaster, but at the same time, the a whole soul, uh, the team loves you, and I really want to understand. We all love you, and we have and so we really want to understand that, if you can share a few good practices, how can you actually develop this, I would say, the super team.
Uh, I think the first and foremost, okay, first of all, thank you for saying all the good things. I don't believe everybody loves me, but I think sometimes people are respectful of a position, and they get, and then they want to see, as long as you can be fair in most situations, you earn your respect along the way. And I have made I can say, more than my fair share of mistakes when it comes to people management. So I have to be candid enough to admit that. But in my view, you know, the one thing that can make or break a manager is the moment you don't appear to be fair. Okay, that's it. Even the guys who's who seem aligned to you will be having a doubt in their minds that tomorrow this person's priorities can just switch, and that becomes very important. And it's a very, very tough balancing act, because you're trying to balance between your outlook to the business versus trying to balance between sometimes what individuals want as outcomes in their lives, in their careers. The mo- Hopefully what has worked is to be honest. If you can be honest to people, even when you want to convey bad news, even want to convey things that people don't like to listen, that seems to work. But most importantly, when you're trying to manage large teams, trust and patience, and realizing that your direct reports aren't always going to be copycats of your style. So how do you manage people with styles that are completely different of yours?
Wow.
And sometimes I think about it, because and there are some regrets, obviously, because I could not accept certain people whose styles were probably different from mine. But I do believe today that they were incredibly good managers. And but that's the learning. When you are into it, sometimes you become so blindsided with the obvious
Correct.
that you probably miss out, and that's what has happened. But that's what it is. And you learn, and hopefully, as long as you can learn and realize, and you move on, it's still okay. If you don't learn and continue to remain blindsided, I guess that's a problem. So so my view is that I think over a period of time, I have developed a process by which I have encouraged my teams to be brutally candid with me, right? And we used to laugh about it in my previous job, that my direct reports used to say that, you want to have a fight in the office, go to Nitin's room and have a fight. So people used to huddle in my room,
That's a
and
war
they would
room.
just, yeah, it was, we used to call it many names, but people would just have a go. And sometimes people sitting outside would say, what are these guys trying to do? Right? Because it would be just absolutely loud and crazy. But the best part of it was, once it was out of your system and you walked out of the room, as long as you didn't carry it in your head and made it personal, that was the most important thing, to for everybody to have that assurance that not just me, but even my boss is not going to carry this outside. And what I tried to do was that the moment that heated argument or sometimes a difference of opinion was sorted, I always made it a point that I would go out and hang out with the guys in the evening, and have that conversation and kind of reassure them informally. And a lot of managing is formal and informal. As a matter of fact, what you do 80% informally defines how your 20% formal engagements are working. And that's really what I think has been, or at least my defined process is this, and it's working for me so far. But to each his own. Choose your style. That's all I'll say.
Wow, wow, that's important. I think that you ended on a very amazing note. Choose your style, because one style doesn't suit all, and it's the vice versa.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
And again, Nitin, I would like to highlight this to our listeners that it is very, very important that you give that space to vent out, because until unless you break those barriers, you won't really get good ideas, the way Nitin actually had that war room, wherein he invited people to have those, heated arguments and heated discussions, so that it ended into a fruitful solution.
Yep.
Amazing, Nitin.
I think the only one last statement I want to add is to managers and leaders, and with all due respect to each one,
that was my last question.
But learn to acknowledge if you've gone wrong, okay, to your team. And it's not a sign of weakness. Sometimes just going and saying, okay, I got it wrong and you guys were right, also does wonders. People, their confidence just goes sky high. They also start to realize that you are as humane as they are, and
Exactly.
It helps build the bonds.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So I think beside being a boss, do not forget to be a human being.
Right. Right.
Okay, great, Nitin. Thank you so much for spending the morning with us. I know it's an early morning recording, and thank you so much. I'm really glad that you actually shared these workable tips. I think that is the whole sole idea of conducting these sessions, wherein we are able to come up with some workable tips. The Unicorn people has conducted sessions earlier, Nitin, and most of our sessions, in fact, all of our sessions have focused on giving something which is workable, not just gyan. We just hate gyan. I'm not a person who likes gyan, gives gyan. So I think, and gyan doesn't work in today's world.
Hopefully, I did sound too gyan-like. So.
Not at all, not at all. That's the reason.
Right.
Thank you so
happy
much.
Happy to spend the morning. It's time well spent, and thank you so
You
much.
have been that perfect guest whom I really, this is gonna be that recording which I can re-listen.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.